You probably clicked on it wondering, what is it? Well, it's styrofoam balls, painted silver, covered in glitter, suspended on black strings, 150 of them to be exact. There are basically endless combinations of what you can make with this thing. It's pretty awesome. In my head, I like to think of it as a low budget LED wall because I install LED walls at my job a lot of times, and they're very expensive and very difficult to set up and way out of the budget of a lot of small churches like ours. So this is kind of a way to do something really bright and flashy. It's kind of funny, when I first installed this thing, a lot of our folks came up to me afterwards telling me that they thought that it was some kind of projection or computer image because the balls glow so brightly, it seems like the light is coming from the individual pixels, if you will. So I thought that was a really cool result that I wasn't expecting. I just thought that this would be a really interesting visual effect, create visual interest. You know, a lot of times in churches, people are distracted. They're like counting ceiling tiles, or they're looking everywhere but at the preacher or the praise team, whatever's on the stage. So I thought this would be a way to get them, if they zone out, at least they'll still be facing the pastor, which should help him preach better, right? So I thought that would be a good effect as well. So if you would like to see how I did this, what it took to make it, stay tuned because we're getting into it right now. So the first thing I want to share was my inspiration for this idea. I was trying to think of a new set design for our church's stage, which is pretty small. As I was searching through Google, trying to get ideas, I came across this chandelier that had these gems suspended at different heights, and that created the shape of a pyramid. I pretty quickly got the idea to have the new set have Jesus' name in really large letters suspended just above head height so that it would be visible over whoever is standing on the stage. So I went to Hobby Lobby, started looking into what it would take to make the suspended string gems. Went to the bead aisle, found lots of different kinds of beads, but honestly expected to find more variety than what I did. Found also some styrofoam balls in the party section. It was like $250 for maybe $5 or $7. I can't remember how many. I bought several different types, so I can't remember which ones were which price. But nevertheless, I bought a few varieties to bring back to the church and test out with different lighting patterns. So you can see here in a couple of images that we did some wood blocks, some crystal gems. They're probably just plastic, but they look good. And of course the styrofoam balls. So with the styrofoam balls, it was really pretty easy to slide these things up and down once I got the needle through. And then later on, my brother actually had an idea to cut a slit up the back halfway through the ball, and then you could just place it on the string without having to run the needle all the way through it, which saved us a ton of time. So I made this mock-up out of 2x4 and screwed in the screws about 2 inches apart and just ran the string around the screws up and down a couple of times to figure out what the spacing would need to be. And then I put some styrofoam balls on it to test them out and see how big of a letter that would make with just like 8 strings or something that we did on this test piece, it was really helpful to see that, and I could get an idea how tall I wanted the letters, and based on that, how many strings was I going to need to go all the way across the stage with it, which ended up being about 54 strings. I think I have the method down that I'm going to try to use. I'm going to use these 1x3s that are left over from a project that I did at work that we ended up having leftovers. They're really just under 2.5 inches. They're probably not super square, but that should not make much difference because the only thing they need to do is not weigh much, be long enough, and then I'll measure using a guide to have exactly the same space between each screw. So I'm going to clean these up, and I have to mock up the frame that I'm going to use. That's part of the other reason I have these pre-cut sitting here. So this, I'm not really worried about what size it is so much as that it's the same size. Well, could be worse, could be better. Whatever. That's close enough for my purposes. Okay. This board I don't like the look of, so I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of it. There we are. So these two are on the sides. These two go in the middle. That'll be the bottom. Okay. So those will drill up and through. The idea is leave a gap here, mount this, so basically that, but I would drill in that way, maybe. So it doesn't have to support any weight, it's just a backstop for this piece. This piece just sits in there, and either screw into it or just mount the next piece right up against it. Of course, this represents a board like this, and then another one here. I don't have the other piece cut yet. A third one there, so it's 3 layers deep.
See, the difficult part is, in order to avoid having to put several hundred screws into the board while it's up on the ceiling, I want to be able to do it here on the table, boom, 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 so I can move faster. So I have to be able to put the board up into place. And so I need this slot to be removable, because it's going to have a mate on the other side, and I won't have access above because this is right up against the ceiling, and this angle won't be enough. So I have to be able to remove these two screws, put in my board, and then mount this 2x4 block back in place. So now I just need a lot more 2x4 blocks, tap them all out, and that should get me where I want to go. So let's keep cutting. Good. There's a handful. Pencil out to mark some stuff. Alright, so the first thing to do is figure out where I'm going to start. This is this edge here, represents this edge here. And I'm wanting to probably hang a hook right in the center. So I'll use that, my template piece. Puts my first screw inside the piece. So basically one inch in. Yeah. Just gonna start 1 inch in. I may be off by like 1/8. But so be it. Does that make sense? Because no, that'll still be too close. So up to 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. This thing is 2. It's not supposed to be 2. It's supposed to be 2 1/4. Oh. Grab the wrong one. You gotta be careful. Okay. So that's better. From the center. So I just need to be off of the board. So let's start at 1.5 inches. So if I do 1.5 inches and put one in the center of the 2x4, then I can start the next one. split this pretty fragile 1x3. By fragile, I just mean it's kind of brittle. If I drilled all these in a line, it would just break in half. Most of them are not sticking out the back. Just gives them a good bit of purchase. Let's see. Obviously they're not perfectly lined up because I was just eyeballing it, but it's got a pretty good symmetry to it. So, lining up the back and the outside edge. I want the outside edge very flush there. Alright, feels good. So, sit there. I always forget where I put this thing. But if I put on the ladder, it almost always falls off, so it's just not worth doing it. Alright. Now that it's locked in that direction, I'll make sure it can't twist to be able to get loosened or move anything. Alright. So that's how that works. And there's a little gap, so I could increase the tension just by adding a couple wedges. Pretty cool. And that lets me put all these screws in on the ground without having to climb up here and drill all my holes and screw them in. So, pretty happy with it. All right, time to do the floor part of the project. This could get interesting. So, I've got 14 foot worth of 2x4 here. I need to join it together. And I'll go ahead and put the attachment pieces to it. Handful of these. Okay. So, first you decide which side gets the screws. Definitely not this side because it's got some gouges. So that means it's this side, and either this is either the top or the bottom. Alright, so I went and checked, and there is no screw at dead center. It's split in two other screws. So that's what I need to do here. Just need to mark. Now I can take it in the other room and see how close did I get. Moment of truth. Ideally, all this would be struck before trying to install anything new, but tomorrow's Sunday, and so I need to make sure that if I don't get everything finished, we can still have service. So I know that it takes longer to strike everything by myself than it does to just move things around a little bit. So I'm gonna need to find center and level before I anchor this thing in. That's the basic idea. Looks like it's pretty close. That's my little thumb bob. Not perfect, but kind of worked. So I need to find center, make sure it's level. So my frame above is centered on the ceiling tile. That's pretty close if it's not accurate. I might need to figure out a way to hold that, some little post or something. Hello? Are you the one I'm looking for? Hello? Is it you I'm looking for? That seems unlikely, right? Let's go. Let's see if it goes, how it goes like that. Yeah, I think that might work. I can dig it. Out from the ladder. Okay. Pull it tight. Break it off. Boo. Boo. Okay. That was bound to happen. That's why I said it was gonna be figuring it out. But I'm still down low where nobody will see it once I build the wall. So let's see how well it can be re-tied on. I may not continue to film this because this is going to take a while. And I'm not sure it'll be very interesting to watch visually. It's kind of funny. You really can't hardly see these strings, which is the point actually. The things that are going to be hanging on them are supposed to be have the appearance of just floating in midair. But boy, it's a lot of work to make something invisible. There it is. Doesn't it look great? Let's go in for a close. That was exhausting. You can kind of see the strings with the floor as a background, going all the way up. Strings at the ceiling. All right, now let's put a word on it. I'm not going to time lapse this because
It's very tedious and boring, and I want to listen to music instead of having my phone tied up with filming. So I'm going to do this several hundred times. I'll show you the finished product. So, you are center, and this is my head height. So, let's start with that. Center. This is O. My head height is center. It's really hard to capture the lighting effect on video, unfortunately. It all looks really flat, but here in person it looks pretty cool. Here, up close, you can actually see the strings holding them all up. Not sure if you can tell much. It's kind of a reflection off the top from purple and blue lighting on the bottom. See if I can get a photo as well. I think it's going to be cool. I think it's already cool, but I think it's going to be even better. I realize that camera looks better with the lights on a bit dimmer. So this is a little bit more accurate representation, even though it's pretty low. And you can see it get blown out when I bring up the intensity. Yeah. I think that's about what it feels like in the room when it's at full.